The silent approach. The Krell Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade alone. Their warships, massive, bristling with weaponry that could crack moons, moved through space like shadowy predators. Species after species fell before their might, forced into servitude or extinction based solely on the whims of the Krell High Command. Admiral Xalvor stood on the command bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Dominance, his 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of their next target. Nova Terra, humanity's farthest colony. The planet glowed blue and green against the black void, seemingly defenseless against the 200 warships now bearing down upon it. Pathetic, he rasped, mandibles clicking with anticipation. The humans have no significant orbital defenses, no military fleet in this sector. He turned to his second-in-command. They will fall by nightfall. Commander Trazek bowed respectfully. The Imperator will be pleased. Humans have resisted assimilation for too long. Breaking this colony will send a message to their homeworld. What the Krell didn't understand was that humans had long anticipated this moment. For years, intelligence reports had warned Nova Terra's leadership about the Krell's inexorable expansion toward human space. While most colonial officials had demanded conventional defenses, orbital platforms, minefields, a defensive fleet, one voice had argued for a different approach. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the viewport of Nova Terra's modest space station, watching as evacuation ships carried the last civilians to underground bunkers. At 53, her face bore the lines of someone who had spent decades making difficult decisions. Her most controversial one was about to be tested. "Status report on the Singularity," she asked, not turning from the viewport. Lieutenant Commander Jackson consulted his tablet. "Final systems check complete, Admiral. Dr. Okafor reports the quantum field is stable. The ship is ready." He hesitated on the last word. Chen nodded. "And our pilot. Captain Rise is interfaced and reporting optimal neural connection." Jackson's voice dropped. "Admiral, permission to speak freely?" Chen finally turned, her expression softening slightly. "Granted. Are we really betting the entire colony on a single prototype vessel? The evacuation is only 70% complete. If this fails..." Chen interrupted. "The conventional defenses some wanted would have failed just the same, only with greater casualties." She gestured toward a small, seemingly unremarkable ship docked at the station's far side. It was matte black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, with strange geometric patterns etched across its hull. "The Singularity isn't just a ship, Commander. It's an entirely new paradigm of warfare." 4 hours later, the Krell fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Nova Terra system. Their formation was impeccable, a wall of destruction arranged in battle-tested patterns perfected across hundreds of conquests. Admiral Xalvor expected immediate capitulation. He was prepared for desperate resistance. What he wasn't prepared for was the apparent absence of any response at all. "Scan again," he ordered, his irritation evident. "Where are their defenders?" The sensor officer's antennae twitched nervously. "Admiral, we detect only a single vessel. It appears to be moving toward us." The bridge fell silent as the main view screen magnified the approaching ship. It was small by Krell standards, perhaps a tenth the size of their smallest cruiser. Its design was alien even by human standards. All smooth curves and strange geometry, the black surface seeming to swallow light. "A diplomatic vessel," suggested Commander Trazek. "Perhaps they wish to surrender formally." Xalvor's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones focused on tactical displays. "No, this is something else." A note of uncertainty crept into his voice, an emotion no Krell admiral had felt in decades of conquest. "Hail them." No response came. "Lock weapons on the vessel," Xalvor commanded. "Fire a warning shot across their trajectory." One of the forward cruisers unleashed a plasma bolt that streaked through space, deliberately missing the human ship by mere kilometers. The energy discharge was enough to vaporize a small moon. The human vessel didn't alter course. It continued its silent approach, now at the edge of the Krell fleet's optimal firing range. They're either insane or... Zalvor didn't finish the thought. Target that ship and eliminate it. Then proceed with the planetary assault. 5 Krell cruisers opened fire simultaneously, their combined firepower enough to shatter a small continent. Energy beams lanced through space toward the lone human vessel and passed straight through it. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominance, confusion erupted. Tactical officers scrambled to explain the impossible readings, while weapons specialists recalibrated targeting systems. Hologram, demanded Zalvor, some kind of projection. Before anyone could answer, the sensors officer cried out in alarm. Admiral, the human vessel, it's gone. And then, for the first time in the history of the Krell Empire, true fear gripped the bridge of a command ship, because in that moment, 3 Krell cruisers simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no debris, no distress calls. One moment they were there, the next, nothing but empty space. On board the Singularity, Captain Sophia Rice floated in the neural interface chamber, her body suspended in breathable liquid, her mind directly connected to the ship's quantum systems. Her consciousness expanded beyond her physical form, perceiving the battlefield in ways no conventional sensor could. She didn't pilot the Singularity. She was the Singularity. Phase shift complete, she subvocalized, the words transmitted to Admiral Chen, back on Novaterra. 3 enemy vessels neutralized. Proceeding to secondary targets. The ship, or what appeared to be a ship, was humanity's greatest secret. The culmination of decades of research into quantum physics, dark energy manipulation, and consciousness transfer. The Singularity didn't travel through space in the conventional sense. It existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, allowing it to phase in and out of normal space-time. To the Krell, it was as if they were being hunted by a ghost. The impossible victory. Panic gripped the Krell fleet as more ships vanished without explanation. Admiral Zalvor, who had overseen the subjugation of entire civilizations, found himself facing something beyond his comprehension. Defensive formation, he bellowed. All ships focus fire on any anomalous readings. But how do you fight an enemy you cannot see? How do you defend against a weapon that seems to defy the laws of physics? The Krell ships fired blindly into space, their energy weapons and missile salvos striking nothing but void. Meanwhile, their numbers continued to dwindle. 5 ships gone, then 12, then 20. Commander Trazek approached the Admiral, his normal stoic demeanor cracking. Admiral, we should retreat, regroup and analyze what we're facing. Zalvor's mandibles clicked in fury. Retreat, before a single human vessel. The Empire would have my head. He slammed his clawed fist against the tactical display. Launch all fighters. Spread them throughout the combat zone. They must find whatever is doing this. Hundreds of Krell fighters swarmed into space, their pilots scanning desperately for any sign of the enemy. For a brief moment, one pilot caught a glimpse of the black ship as it phased partially into normal space, just long enough to register on sensors. There, the pilot transmitted, banking his fighter toward the coordinates. All units converge on. His transmission ended abruptly as his fighter, along with 30 others in the same sector, simply vanished. Within the Singularity, Captain Rice navigated through multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. In her expanded consciousness, she perceived the Krell fleet not as solid objects, but as probability patterns, concentrations of matter and energy that she could interact with or avoid at will. The quantum field generators that powered the ship allowed her to create localized disruptions in space-time. Any Krell vessel caught in these disruptions was shifted slightly out of phase with normal reality, not destroyed in the conventional sense, but transferred to a parallel dimension where they would drift harmlessly, unable to return. 53 enemy vessels neutralized, she reported. The fleet is breaking formation. Some ships are attempting to retreat. On Novaterra, Admiral Chen, and her command staff watched in stunned silence as the tactical display showed the mighty Krell armada falling into disarray. What had been an invincible conquest fleet mere hours ago was now a scattered, panicking mass of ships trying desperately to escape an enemy they couldn't fight. "By all the stars," whispered Jackson, "it's actually working." Chen's expression remained grave. "Captain Rice, status." "Quantum field stability at 72% and holding," came the calm reply. "I can maintain operations for another 45 minutes before field collapse." "Focus on their command ship," Chen ordered. "End this." Admiral Xalvor watched his grand fleet disintegrate around him, his four eyes wide with disbelief. More than half his ships were gone, and the rest were scattering despite his orders. The unthinkable was happening. The Krell Empire was losing a battle. "Admiral," his sensor officer called out, voice trembling, "we're detecting a quantum disturbance forming directly ahead of us." For the first time, Xalvor saw it, the human vessel materializing before the eternal dominance, its black hull seeming to bend light around it. It was smaller than he had imagined, almost elegant in its alien design. "All weapons, fire," he roared, but even as the order left his mouth, he knew it was futile. The energy beams passed through the singularity harmlessly, while strange ripples began to form in space around his dreadnought. The stars themselves seemed to distort, and Xalvor felt a sensation he had never experienced before, the fabric of reality shifting around him. In desperation, he activated the quantum communicator to send a final message to the Krell homeworld. "This is Admiral Xalvor. The human colony possesses technology beyond our understanding. A single vessel has defeated our fleet using dimensional manipulation. I recommend immediate diplomatic." The transmission cut off as the eternal dominance phased out of normal space-time, taking Admiral Xalvor and his command staff with it. Captain Rice observed the flagship's transition dispassionately. Unlike the other ships, she had specifically calibrated this phase shift to place the Krell command vessel in a dimension where it would eventually find its way back, carrying with it the message of what had happened here. "Command ship neutralized," she reported. "Remaining enemy vessels are in full retreat. Quantum field stability at 58%. Mission accomplished." 4 hours later, in the secure briefing room of Novaterra's Central Command, Admiral Chen addressed the colony's leadership council. "The Krell Armada has been defeated," she stated simply. Approximately 60% of their vessels were phase-shifted to parallel dimensions. The remainder have fled the system. Governor Santos, a skeptical opponent of Chen's project, shook his head in amazement. One ship did all this." Chen nodded. "The Singularity Project represents humanity's greatest scientific achievement, the practical application of dimensional physics. Captain Rice successfully interfaced with the quantum systems and executed the defense flawlessly." "And Captain Rice?" asked Santos. "What's her condition?" A shadow crossed Chen's face. "She's recovering. The neural interface puts enormous strain on the human mind. Perceiving multiple dimensions simultaneously isn't something we evolved to do." She paused. "But she'll make a full recovery, given time." "And what happens when the Krell return?" asked another council member. "Surely they'll come back with an even larger force." "Perhaps," Chen acknowledged. "But we've designed the Singularity command ship to allow the Krell flagship to eventually return to normal space. When Admiral Xalvor reports what happened here, that a single human vessel defeated their entire fleet without conventional weapons, it will force them to reconsider their approach to humanity." She stood straighter, her voice taking on a harder edge. "The Krell Empire has expanded unchecked for decades because no species could match their military might. Today, we showed them that humanity doesn't need to match their fleet ship for ship. We can think differently, fight differently." In the medical bay, Captain Sophia Rice lay in recovery, her mind gradually readjusting to perceiving only 3 spatial dimensions. The experience of being the Singularity, of existing beyond normal physical limitations, had changed her profoundly. A nurse approached her bed. "Captain, Admiral Chen asked me to inform you that the colony is safe. The Krell have retreated." Reyes nodded slightly, her eyes still closed. "They'll be back," she whispered. "The Admiral says you should rest." The neural interface was active longer than we tested before. Reyes finally opened her eyes, and for just a moment, the nurse thought she saw something strange in them, as if the captain was seeing things no one else could. "Next time," Reyes said softly, "we won't need to phase them out. Next time, they'll retreat at the mere sight of a single human ship." Far beyond the Novaterra system, the scattered remnants of the once mighty Krell fleet limped toward their homeworld, carrying with them a message that would forever change the galaxy's understanding of humanity. No fleet, no army, just one human ship. And the battle was over.